Hi, I'm Reggie Turner. I'm here with Terrence Moore and Jim Miller. The FlipSide starts right now. Welcome to the show. Tonight we're joined by Allen Twigg, the Executive Director of Behavioral and Community Health at Meritus. And we're also joined by Julie Keller. And Julie, I'm going to make sure I get this right for you, keep you out of trouble. You are a certified personal trainer, and you're also a nationally board certified health and wellness coach.
That's correct.
How do we do?
Good.
All right, hi guys, welcome to the show. Allen, let's start with you. I know the big mandate and the big thing that you're working on that Dr. Joshi is pushing you forward on is Go for Bold.
Go for bold, Reggie, yes. So that is the Community Health Initiative to lose 1 million pounds by the year 2030. So we know Washington County has had health challenges. We know that we have a higher rate of obesity, overweight than some other areas of Maryland. But we have begun this challenge together, and we are making some great progress. In fact, we just celebrated together losing over 100,000 community pounds at the beginning of October of this year.
Wow. That's a lot of weight. So there's, what, 150,000 roughly residents in Washington County. So if you think about it, that's less than 10 pounds a person.
Right.
So, I mean, the goal is not unrealistic, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely, it's not unrealistic. We have currently over 75 organizations, different businesses, public, private. We have Washington County Public Schools as a part of this. And out of those organizations, really they began latching on to this initiative as a means of employee wellness. Right now we have 36 organizations that have lost over 100 pounds, and 16 of the organizations have lost more than 500 pounds. So we're really starting to see some good engagement by the people who are working in Washington County. This initiative is open to anyone who lives here, who works here, or comes here to play.
Right. And you don't have to be associated with a business. You can sign up as an individual.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have over 2,000 individuals that really aren't associated with any organization that have joined this movement to make a change. So really it's about people who want to make a change in their own personal health status. We have, our tagline is do, eat, and believe in a healthy Washington County. So we're looking at things like increasing physical activity, movement, nutritious diet, and then the believe part is really all about mental wellness, stress management, and we give a number of free resources about how to take care of yourself. Self-care is really the greatest gift that we can give ourselves over the years.
Excellent. So this is not, though, the only program that Meritus has relative to community health. Can you talk about some of the broader initiatives or broad initiatives that you have as an organization?
Sure. Well, in the community, we do have a number of initiatives. So we have a local health improvement coalition called Healthy Washington County. It's really a partnership that's led by Meritus Health and our local Department of Health. There's about 40 organizations involved with Healthy Washington County. Really our priority goals are around obesity, diabetes management, hypertension management. We also, of course, have substance use disorder, access to treatment, access to mental health treatment. So one of our newest initiatives is having a walk-in mental health clinic that's available at Meritus Health Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. You don't need an appointment. If you need to talk to a mental health professional, you can come. I know that for a number of years, one of the big issues is people not being able to get help in a timely manner. So sometimes none of us, can anticipate having a mental health crisis, or if you have substance dependence issues. When a person reaches a point where they say, hey, I need to do something about this, that help is needed now. It can't be put on a waiting list and say, well, we'll give you an appointment in 2 weeks. So that center opened in the middle of September. It's great. We've had a pilot program where we've helped over 300 people with substance use disorder get connected to treatment.
Wow.
So I think it's a game changer. I've been in Washington County over 25 years in the behavioral health business of giving people help when they need it. And this new service, I think, can't be understated. So we're proud of that.
And that service has 6 beds?
Yeah, so it has 6 crisis beds, and people don't stay a real long time.
Right.
Our goal is really to disrupt that cycle of addiction. What was happening before, and you probably have read this in newspapers, so people will overdose on a drug. What we see is they came to the emergency department, they were treated and revived, and then given information about how to follow up with outpatient care. Well, most of those people don't follow through with that opportunity. But if we can say, hey, you want help, and we can give you help now and stay with us, we'll make a relapse prevention plan, we'll contact a residential treatment center, or maybe you can do an intensive outpatient program and do a warm handoff. One of the, I think, more innovative methods that we have used is employing people who are in recovery themselves. So we call
Yes.
them peer support.
Yes.
People with lived experience, they've been there, they know what it takes to make a change, to get sober, and they're really key in intervening at that point of crisis for a person that wants to make a change. And so they really help. When I say warm handoff, our peer support have helped people actually go to the outpatient appointment for the first time to begin treatment. So that's working. It's working.
And I had an opportunity to tour that wing. I'm on the board of the Healthcare Foundation,
Sure.
and Michael Smith gave us a tour and talked about these services. And I'm so glad we're talking about it today, because the conversation that we had is that community awareness of knowing that this resource is available. So if someone is in a crisis and this is something that they need, how do they access it? Do they just show up? Is there a number they call? Like, what's the process?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that if it's during these hours of Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, please come to the orange entrance at the Robinwood Complex. Come in person. We do have a phone number. I don't have it off the top of my head.
But we can probably get it and provide it.
We absolutely can.
Okay,
Sure,
great.
yes.
If you go to our website, meritushealth.com, the information is there, and you can call and talk to someone.
And also the Go for Bold. Do you have that website?
Yeah, so that website is on healthywashingtoncounty.com.
Okay.
All one word. Spell it out. Don't abbreviate anything. healthywashingtoncounty.com. And you'll see Go for Bold there. And it's an easy way to sign up in our weight tracker. And the weight tracker is just an accountability tool that you enter your weight in. So like right now, we have a pretty cool initiative, maintain, not gain, over the holidays. And what we'd like people to do is make an account on the weight tracker, put your weight in now, and then weigh in each week through the holidays and weigh out over the holidays. The goal is just not to gain any weight.
Right.
Yep.
And that telephone number is 301-393-HELP, which is 4357.
So speaking of the holidays, Julie Keller, who, and I don't think we said that you were with OneLife Fitness, which is I guess it's a Eastern-based company, but they have gyms up and down the East Coast. Is
We're
that
in
true?
the DMV, and we are also growing in Georgia,
Okay.
in the Atlanta area.
Her goal in life is to keep people from having to come to your
Yes.
facility. And Julie, I can speak from experience because Julie was my personal trainer for over a year, and hurt me no, I'm just kidding. She helped me make a lot of progress, not only with the fitness part, but with the nutrition part and so forth. Julie, you recently talked to my company about how to get through the holidays, how to preserve your health through the holidays. Talk to us about that.
So what I like to suggest to everyone is a lot of times, a lot of my clients will say, I'm going to put my fitness on hold until after Christmas, or I'll restart in the new year. They do this with vacations, major holidays. So instead of having this pause mentality, which is what I call it, I like to suggest to everyone to sort of think of their fitness and their health and wellness as a dial. So if we want to, it's like a pot of water on a stove. If you want it to boil really fast, you turn it up. Sometimes in life we can have it at that 10. Other times we have to dial it back a little bit. So sometimes over the holidays with all the tests that are coming, we have to dial that back. But along the same lines that you're saying, we don't want to gain any weight. We're trying to maintain. So the first recommendation I've been giving my clients currently is revisit your goal. Whatever you set, whenever we started, was it at the beginning of the year? Was it in March? Was it in June? It doesn't matter. Go back and say, what did I want to accomplish? And how far have I come? And really sort of celebrate any wins that you have, whatever they are, and feel how that feels inside. And then ask yourself, if I have to reclimb any of that hill, how is that going to feel?
Right.
And so that sort of sets the pace for what you're going to do for the holidays. And then from that moment of reflection, that's when you have to make a plan. All of my clients, whether they're fitness clients or whether they're health and wellness clients, we always have a plan and we always have manageable goals. So as you go into the holiday season, you don't want to wait until you're at an office Christmas party or you're at Nana's Thanksgiving table to make the plan. You have to have the plan before you get into the
You can't
situation.
make it at Nana's table.
No, because
won't let
Nana's upset. So we have to make that plan before we get there, and we have to be realistic with those plans too. Like, can we say no? What's Nana going to feel like if we say no? And have a plan of action to navigate that, so you're not just sort of like at a loss, then you throw everything out the window, and then you have that moment of regret the next day, and then you feel like you have to give up.
Yeah.
Can you either one kind of speak to the emotions tied to eating during the holidays as well? It's not just the access, but people who've lost loved ones, people dealing with conflict in their families or loneliness that may have addictions to food or may use food for comfort, which ultimately may lead them into obesity as well. And doing it and losing weight and staying healthy or maintaining weight in a safe way and not, subsiding to those emotions. That ties into both addiction, mental health, as well as nutrition.
There's a lot of overlap in what I do. I'm very careful to stay in my lane. When I see people in the addiction category, I always try to refer them out to a licensed therapist, because food and mental health often, as you said, go hand in hand. Yeah. And the other thing is, I know we were joking about Nana, but we do have people who food's their love language.
Yeah.
And what kind of guilt are you going to feel bad with, you're going to be left with, that you turned it down because your goals were very important to you, but now you've hurt a loved one who doesn't understand the sort of the new geography that we're in as you're trying to change your life. So in those aspects, you have to hopefully have a conversation with that person ahead of time. It's not that I don't like your pie, but my doctor has said if I don't get my diabetes numbers under control, I could die. So I don't think anyone would be upset with you in that respect. I do have clients who have full-on sugar addictions, and we treat it like an addiction. We call it sugar sobriety because it can spiral into, it's not just, oh, they ate a couple pieces of pie over Thanksgiving. They can then be back to where they were. So, and it also can lead to other addictions too. I mean, food, when you get into a stressful situation, we have alcohol, it can then spiral you and maybe into it, and then dabbling into drugs again. So again, making a plan, being honest with yourself, and making sure you have a wellness team, which is where you guys come in.
So in regards to your personal training and your wellness, do you work with groups or are all of your clients individual?
Yes, the answer is yes.
Both.
I do both. So I do a one-on-one personal training, I do semi-private, and in the health and wellness aspect, sometimes you have clients that really need much
Support.
like a therapy session support. As a board certified coach, I do have everything falls under HIPAA. Insurances are starting to take our services because they're seeing that we're sort of paramedical professionals. We're providing that gap between the doctor and the patient to help them. Like when you get the diabetes diagnosis and you have a list of food, well, that's wonderful. How do we implement that? So that's where I become sort of like a GPS to help you make those changes. In a group setting, which is what I've done a lot of times with your company, is we get together and I do an overarching talk on something that a lot of people can relate to. And then if they're at their comfort level, they share their own experiences to work through some things.
I also know that with Go for Bold, I know one of the biggest push at one time was how to bridge that relationship with the fitness centers, to kind of make that parallel. I know there's some that are under the umbrella right now, but of course there's always room for more. But even from small business owners, you mentioned briefly that small businesses are using it to kind of provide some kind of wellness services to their employees because there's a cost associated with that. But there's also a social responsibility to your employees to ensure their best health possible. And I hate to say it, there's a bottom line impact as well, that businesses that have healthier employees have employees who show up to work and who work diligently and more likely because they enjoy the work that they do and having mental health. So how do you create that synergy between going into a medical facility and going into a fitness center, and how would you bridge those relationships?
Some of the things that we've been doing are incorporating healthy activities in the workplace. So having the opportunity to do a fitness camp in the evening after your work hours at no additional cost. It's convenient. In fact, we have a group, Hub City Nutrition.
Hub City Nutrition.
It's just started.
And that is, I was going to talk about that. That is building like so quickly because they were doing trainings outside and then they partnered with Go for Bowl and now they're in your facility. And I saw a picture like 2 days ago. There was probably about 50 folks in the pictures.
Yeah, I'm afraid that we might outgrow the area. But yeah, Monday and Thursday evenings.
That's a good problem to
in
have, though,
Robinwood
outgrowing.
Atrium.
Yeah.
Our employees are able to come on and go through an hour, and they take all levels of experience. So,
Right. And I've seen children with their parents there. I mean, visually, it is very compelling to see all of these people. And I know they're working hard because you can see the sweat, but you're also seeing smiles on people's faces, right? It's an enjoyable environment, and it's in your large hallway, so there's plenty of room for them to exercise. So I've seen that grow.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody with a frown after they work out. Right. Regret, oh, I'm sorry I did that.
Yeah.
But it's a family affair, just like in fitness centers. I know in OneLife, you got a kids area. They have their own little kind of water park. So families come in and everyone kind of divides and conquers their fitness goals and kind of regroup, and it's part of the family activity even after work. Is that something that you see a lot more of, or?
I think, and especially OneLife's really good about making sure that anyone who wants to get healthy has that opportunity. So in our kids club, we have like a basketball court, we have a place they can move. All of our kids club employees are they're not just sitting there watching the kids, while they're looking on their phones. They're helping the kids do activities. We have our explosive performance. We work with athletes from ages 9 all the way through college. So when you're there, you can be there as a family and work out together. And I think that's important because parents are modeling these healthy behaviors for their kids, and that's going to become something they take for life.
Right.
So and I see parents who maybe, and this is what I really inspires me. I have parents that come in who their fitness journey is starting right now, and maybe their kids are in their teens, and they're not in the best shape, and they're seeing what path that's the potential for their children to go down to end up in the same place they are, and they're like, this is not going to happen. So I'm going to set the pace here. I'm going to bring my son or my daughter with them, and then they change as a family, and you just watch the whole, like, not just their weight come off, but you watch their attitudes about food, their attitudes about just exercise change together. And so I think it's better than just sitting in front of the television. So
Well, the other thing that I would say, with my experience specifically with you, but I'm sure most, if not all, the OneLife coaches are like this, is that the intake is not, you don't walk in the door and somebody sits you underneath of 2 45-pound barbells on a weight bench. You meet us where we are, wherever we are in the journey, whether we're just starting or whether we're advanced, and that whole intake process I think is very important. And I think from my perspective, when I started fitness journeys before in my life and failed, the biggest reason was I tried to do everything at once. And what I see with your program is kind of a +1. Let's learn how to do this, and then let's add this, and let's add this. And before you know it, you're so far away from where you started, it's just unbelievable.
well, 10% effort over the course of a year will yield about 5 pounds of weight loss. I mean, 10% is nothing. So that's one thing I tell everyone that meets me on day one. I'm not asking you to go from 0 to 100. And I think specifically the way OneLife presents us as trainers to our clients is exactly what Jim said. We take the time to get to know you. It's personal training. So you're not going to see the same workouts, and definitely with the health and wellness aspect of it, I'm not going to talk to you the same way I would talk to you. Everything is going to be different.
Right.
Everything, your wellness journey has to be specific to you. And the other thing that I think, and this is with the nutrition aspect, definitely. When I'm training you with weights, we don't have time for me to go, now how does that feel? So I'm a little bossier with that. But with the health and wellness aspect of it, I could very easily sit here and tell you guys exactly what to eat and how many times a day to eat and how many calories and how to get your macros. But that teaches you nothing. I need to figure out what you're ready, willing, and able to do and what you're ready, willing, and able to do, and so on. And then we start from there.
Right.
Because that's going to make lasting change. Maybe all you want to work on is getting enough water. Maybe you want to work on increasing your protein. Maybe you want to work on sleep. All of those things are going to be important, and I can't sit here and dictate the easiest way to do that. So
I need sleep.
you need sleep. So I think that's the difference when we look for the progress, not perfection aspect of it. We're taking small steps to make lasting change.
Yeah.
And that's the important part. And I think you guys are on the same path there with these tiny steps. The weight loss, I always say weight loss is a bonus feature of health. So
It's interesting you bring that up because, and I use a Meritus physician as my primary care physician. And one of the things that they'll put me through on the website or on paper is these little questionnaires. And they're very simple. They're 4 or 5 questions, but they go beyond the scope of, do you have a sore throat or do you have whatever? It's about, your mental state and how you are and all of these different pieces and parts. And it really does make you think. And it really does it makes the connection between that. And I found that very helpful too.
Especially when they ask you how many drinks do you have per week. I always feel guilty. I never know how to answer that question.
Per week, you mean per hour?
There you go. But I also want to kind of throw out there, as you speak about individualizing healthcare and fitness, do you see something with the diverse community that we have, that there are cultural obstacles? I know I could talk about my family. In my family, fitness was about nature, right? Your mama big, your daddy big, you big. Like it's okay. And even though it should have been
Big
more
boned.
right, big, right. You know, it was less about understanding that you were nurturing bad habits, right? And you just focused it on nature. Are you seeing some of that with different segments of a community, whether it's, you know, it's ethnic or financial, you know, of what the eating habits may be that may be more difficult or challenged to kind of get them engaged or stay engaged?
Yeah, I think, you know, what you're saying, Terrence, is absolutely true. People, I hear families talk about having sugar, type 2 diabetes, and sort of saying, well, that's a foregone conclusion, I'm going to have sugar. And taking a look at the food that's being consumed and how it's prepared, may be really high in simple carbohydrates. And maybe that's just what is known, and this is, you know, this is what we eat or how we eat. So one of the things that we've done on that community health basis is doing cooking demonstrations with saying, hey, you could take these same or similar ingredients, replace them, and prepare these dishes in different ways. And we've actually had really good partnership in some of our ethnic grocery stores. So with our Hispanic Latino population, the grocery store on the dual highway has been a partner, being able to set up outside. We'll do diabetes risk assessment. Hey, you're at risk for developing diabetes within the next 5 years. Here are some things that you can do to make a change in that. We have diabetes prevention program that incorporates meal preparation, learning about what to eat, how to eat a meal on a budget. One of our partners, Martin's, our dietitian there, Joni, does a great job, if you have diabetes, of how to do a shopping list and prepare meals on a diabetic diet that are affordable.
Well, and that's the key. I mean, because some of the studies that I've read anecdotally suggest that the people that are on the lower end of the financial spectrum are more prone to having the high carb, you know, the macaroni and cheese. Because why? It's cheap.
It's cheap. It's packaged.
It's filling.
And inflation that we've been dealing with doesn't make that any better.
No, it
makes
doesn't.
Right.
Absolutely
much more
not.
challenging. And one of the other
Eating-
challenges is that, you know, our city, for the most part, is a food desert. And I know that there's some things in play to kind of change that, but that's been a long-standing issue that really reared its ugly head, you know, in the midst of COVID, when it was even more challenging to maneuver around.
Well, eating healthy is not inexpensive, for sure.
Right.
It's just not. And I'm not even talking about going to the, you know, all natural or the organic or whatever, just buying the broccoli instead of the macaroni and cheese box. It's huge.
So how about teaching the kids to teach the parents? I know we do that a lot with financial literacy. A lot of times you see it's
kid
as a
brings it home.
the kid brings it home and sets the expectation in the household. And I know you said you work with Washington County Public Schools, as well as you mentioned about the families in your youth center as well. Are you seeing the kids have that more energy to teach the parents and engage them more?
I think especially when we work with our youth athletes, ones that feel like maybe the thing that's holding them back is their nutrition. The parents are so invested in helping their child succeed, which we all, you know, that's normal. Once the child becomes more of an advocate for their own success, the parents get on board because they're like, I don't want to fix like 2 different meals. So what are you learning? And yes, we do have the kids leading the parents with that. And the other thing is, when you start to help them see what I call low-hanging fruit, that you don't have to revamp the whole day, maybe let's just look at one meal. So we have no control over the kids' maybe their breakfast and their lunch, but we can just do dinner. And what one little thing can we change at dinner to that we don't have to spend a whole bunch of money and get all these different ingredients, but we can just add maybe some frozen vegetables, making it simple. People get overwhelmed when it's just too complex.
Children were really the secret to buckling up. Seatbelt campaign.
true.
Oh, that's
and really
true.
changed their parents' behavior. And we've done something similar with the YMCA in working with kids in the after-school program on reading food labels and being able to interpret, looking at sodium, sugar, and fat content.
Give them the vocabulary early. Yep. That's good. That's a great point.
Julie, if someone wanted an assessment to kind of see where they are, to kind of wrap up this year and kick off next year, how do they get in contact with you?
So to get in contact with me, they'd reach out to the Martinsburg OneLife
Okay.
and just ask for me, or they can send me an email. If they want to just get in contact with a OneLife trainer, reach out to any of the OneLifes in the DMV. We're all over the DC metro area. We have OneLife here in Hagerstown at Valley Mall, and they can get in contact with an excellent trainer there to get started for what we call a smart start. And we will help you. If you don't know what your goal is, we will help you set a
Help
very
you define the
specific.
goal.
Yes.
Well, and the line is very blurry because I remember whatever that machine was you had me stand on, and there was a bunch of numbers that spit out of it. And I took it to my Meritus healthcare provider, and I said, "Look what my trainer gave me." And she said, "Well, that's interesting." So I mean, the lines are blurring, and there's hopefully that collaboration continues.
Well, my vision is that someday that insurance is going to pay for everyone to have personal training sessions, at least 2 a month. Like that's something that I think should be standard, just like you have your physical therapist, because we can help prevent illness.
Right.
We're like that first step. And then, of course, we're already seeing that line blur with the nationally board certified health and wellness coaches. We're already working in hospitals. We're working in doctors' offices. They're starting to see the need because doctors are really busy and they just don't have the time to unpack everything for their patients. We have that time to help guide people. And so I think that's an excellent step to bring these paraprofessionals in that have a little bit of different expertise outside of the medical profession to help people just stay healthy or recover from these, like we were saying, diabetes. It does not have to be an inherited disease.
Right.
And you're talking about that personal touch because a lot of businesses are now employing online, exercise courses and tracking food, but you can click that button all day long. There's nobody really to hold you accountable.
Right.
And, to have that opportunity to be face to face to somebody who can kind of see where you're at and really gauge what you need, I think is a big step forward that a lot of organizations need to take. If the insurance companies aren't going to do it, maybe they can take the steps themselves to do it internally.
Well, I think the insurance companies are at least heading that way, at least mine is. My insurance company, when I show them my receipt that I got personal training, I got a rebate.
Yep.
I mean, it wasn't a huge rebate. It was $50 or $100, but it was a rebate.
And
But it would be nice if you could use like your HSA.
you can.
Right.
Actually, a lot of HSAs are paying for personal training, and they pay for as long as you have a board certified coach, they will reimburse you.
That is good to know.
That is interesting.
All right. That's interesting.
So what else is going on at the hospital? Tell us. I know there's and
What's not going on at the hospital?
well, yeah. I mean, it seemed like when Washington County became Meritus, there was some growing pains, obviously, and that's to be anticipated. But Meritus seems to have hit a groove here lately and really starting to move forward in a significant way. Can you fill us in on any of the cool stuff that's going on?
Well, I think providing primary care and greater access to primary care is definitely a key initiative and need. And we see this in a couple ways. We have the family medicine residence that's now in its 4th year. That is vibrant. We are going to begin a surgical residence program and a psychiatry residence program. So this is in addition to the medical school that's being planned to open. So that's really exciting, and a strategy to really increase the availability of professional physicians in this community. Primary care has been, at a deficit for a number of years. We, over the last year, really coming out of the pandemic and COVID, started a community health mobile van that's providing primary care all across Washington County. So taking care to people that are, historically underserved or may have transportation difficulties and can't get to where they need to go. Partnered with the Goodwill location on Prospect Street to have a primary care provider at that location in that neighborhood. It makes it a little bit easier for people to get to. So those are some of the initiatives to expand the adequate number of physician providers for our community.
Getting back to the holiday piece of this, I think one of the mistakes or one of the misconceptions that exists is that it's the most wonderful time of the year. The reality is, for a lot of people, it's not the most wonderful time of the year. I personally, I lost 3 relatives around Thanksgiving, kind of every other year for a couple of years. I think about that. I think about that often. And mine is probably on the. There are many, I'm sure, that have worse stories than mine. Do you see an increase in traffic over the time? I mean, is the holidays an uptick for you in terms of what the services that are needed to be provided?
It can be, but I think it's usually after the holidays we see more. And I think, for the very reasons you're saying, memories, reminders, maybe things did not go as planned over the holidays. We may see more people reach out at that time. But one thing that we have, a program called our Loneliness Care Caller program. For anyone, one of the cool things I think that we did, you were talking about filling out the questionnaire for your doctor. Everyone who's in the hospital gets asked, have you felt lonely over the past week? And for people that respond positively to that, say, yeah, I have felt lonely, we offer them somebody to just make a phone call and talk with them a little bit on a weekly basis. So we've asked, it's a volunteer program.
Yeah.
We've had a great response from our volunteers who want to do this. If you'd like to become a care caller, we'd be happy to give you some training and be able to do this. I don't know, we've had well over 400 people take advantage of being able to talk to somebody once a week, and that makes a difference. Not everyone, we're sitting around the table talking this evening, but not everybody has someone that they can talk to. And the really, I think, really interesting thing is more than 90%, I think it's actually around 96% of the people, when we ask them to follow up, are you feeling less lonely? They say that they are feeling less lonely. So it's another way of serving the community and maybe helping people, especially during this time of year where we can remember loss.
Yeah.
And you're not just checking a box, because staff makes these calls, your executive staff makes these calls as well, right?
That's right.
Yeah. I have a friend that volunteers in that program, and she thoroughly enjoys it.
Yep.
She says it's very rewarding.
Dr. Joshi
Yep.
has a couple people he calls. And one time, he had forgotten to call his person. She called him. Wow. Sure he was okay.
Wow.
Okay.
That's really good, because the first question when someone comes to me for health and wellness, I ask them who's on their support team. And if they say they have no one, we don't start talking about food. The first thing we start talking about is how to make some connection, because if they don't have any connection, everything that we do is not going to be successful.
Right.
So that's really good.
In your role, Julie, and looking at, again, the holiday situation, it's not just about the food, it's not just about the exercise, it's about sleep, it's about mental health, it's about all of these things. And you get into that at some level with your clients. Is that true? Can you expand on that?
So I'm, like I said before, I'm very careful to stay out of the mental health links. I'm not a counselor in any state, but I do help them to gauge that if their stress level's too high, how that affects their bodies. If they're not sleeping, how that affects their stress level. Because I think sometimes when people come, they're like, I want to lose 20 pounds, or I want to run a race, or whatever their outcome goal is. They don't see all the behaviors that connect to get them to that outcome. And often they think, well, if I just ate better, I would just, everything would be okay. And so they feel like a failure because they feel like they've been eating perfectly. They've either been starving themselves or they've been just eating. They're like, I'm eating like Jason Momoa. I'm only having chicken breast and broccoli and plain rice, and I'm not losing any weight. Why? So we sort of we destigmatize that. They're not failing. It's because it's a cookie cutter diet that wasn't made for their body. And we're human and we live in the real world, and there's other things at play that affect our bodies. And so I think by taking that weight away of being perfect, they start to see their little wins along the way. So that's what I try to do for my clients. I try to help them figure out their own user manual for themselves.
And decades of behavior don't stop overnight.
Right.
It is a process, it is a journey, and it's not one that, it's just like addiction. It's something that you have to really change, a lifestyle change, and that's not going to happen overnight. I think we're probably least patient with ourselves than we are with anyone else.
And you've talked about the cookie cutter nutrition, which you don't think works because everybody's different. There's also people that believe in cookie cutter exercise programs. I'm going to walk 10,000 steps a day, and that's what I'm going to do, and cardio is the answer to everything. Is cardio the answer to everything?
Oh, no, that's a whole other episode. No, obviously cardio is the answer to everything. We have to have strength training, and that 10,000 steps, that really actually was just somebody put that on a watch. It was just randomly picked. 10,000 steps might be great for one person, but might not be enough for someone else, or it could be too many. So you have to find where you're at, and then you have to see how your body reacts to that. So even I might have like this idea of how a person's fitness journey is going to go with just the training aspect of it, and their body might not be responding to the mix that I've given. I have to be ready to adapt to help their body change. I can't just be like regimented and say, well, this is what we're doing because it's always worked, and it's got to work for you because it worked for the other 50 people that came before you. So a good trainer is going to be flexible and pay attention to their clients. That's the most important thing. They're going to watch their clients' bodies. They're going to listen to what their client is saying. They're going to also look at their moods and evaluate every time my athletes walk in. How are you feeling today? How did you sleep? What kind of state are you in? Are you positive? What kind of day did you have? Because all of that's going to affect how that workout's going to go.
I think you got a new client.
You're on board?
I feel like running right now.
But it's not all about cardio, just remember.
It's
that.
not. It's not.
So it's like Jim's going to put this on the FlipSide insurance plan.
There you go.
Just one quick question.
Sure.
What are the goals for next year for Go for Bold?
For Go for Bold, so our goals are measured in pounds.
Yep.
And we want to get to 175,000 pounds.
From 100,000 right now.
Yeah, we're actually today at 109,000. And we want to get to 175 by the end of June. And we want to get at least 8,000 people registered with the weight tracker. And so we say, it's about the pounds, but it's not all about the pounds, as we've been discussing this evening. So
No, absolutely.
there are a number of free resources at healthywashingtoncounty.com around Do Eat Believe. So it's a good starting point for people, and the information's vetted. So as Julie's pointed out, one size doesn't fit all, but a lot of people just need to get started.
Right.
doing something. A lot of people are sedentary and don't have any physical activity in their life.
That was my life before Julie.
And like Julie pointed out, even though you are measuring pounds, doing all those other things, weight loss is a byproduct of that. It's not, it doesn't have to be the primary focus, but that byproduct is something that's measurable as well.
That's right.
So,
Yeah, making small changes
Right.
in our daily habits, routines add up over time.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that theory, and frankly, it's the only way I've been able to survive, and I credit her for that, because she's, you know, I rolled in there the first day ready to roll, and she's like, Urch, let me see you sit on the chair and get up 10 times, and then we'll see whether you're ready to roll. I can sit down on a chair and get up. Well, guess what? Repetition number 9 is like, oh, what is this?
Functional movements, right?
Functional movements.
and nothing's worse than an injury early in your program, because it usually deters you not to return.
That's exactly
It's a
right.
huge setback. Even when once you get that momentum to start, you get injured, and then there's another 6 to 8 months until you return again, if ever. So
Yeah.
do it right the first time.
Last piece, what other advice should we know? What else should we know coming into the holidays? First from you, Alan.
Well, you know, I think people treat the holidays like, you know, it's a couple-month event. We're really, a holiday, most people celebrate or observe a holiday for a week or a few days. So I think that's one practical piece of advice to keep in mind. I would say,
But
too-
Christmas is 2 weeks, though, right?
Okay, yeah, Boxing Day and all that, yeah. Yeah, 2 weeks from Christmas to New Year's.
The 12 days of Christmas and tackle 2 at the end,
There you
right?
go. But I think that's where people get into trouble. They kind
Yeah.
of treat it as, you know, a
An
long
extended
extended
period,
event.
yeah.
So you could do a lot of practical things like not have cookies and candy sitting on a counter where you can see them. You know, you can put them away. Mostly, I would say, you know, to keep your battery charged during this time. And that incorporates good sleep, getting enough rest,
Less alcohol.
less alcohol.
It's a lot of holiday parties, though. It's a lot of holiday parties.
Put the eggnog down. Put the eggnog down.
Drink more water. Maybe
Right.
add some physical activity.
Yeah.
Just
Julie?
a few practical things.
So the one thing I would say, is, especially with your food, is try to stay mindful. Put your fork down between bites when you're having a meal. Look at your plate as you fill it. Don't be like talking to everybody in the line. Look at what you're putting on your plate so that you're still focused on eating. You don't like get to the end of the night and say, well, I don't even remember what I had. Show grace to yourself. If you do mess up a little bit, it's okay. It's just one moment. And also maybe add some movement to your activities. So on Thanksgiving Day, maybe go for a hike, go outside, play some football with the kids or something. Same thing at Christmas, maybe like on some of those different holiday events, maybe go for a walk, a stroll downtown after dinner would be some ways to burn maybe a little bit extra calories in there. And again, I like the keep your battery charged, your mental health. Keep checking on your mental health and see where you are. And if you do feel like you need to get help, reach out to someplace like Meritus or dial 988.
You know what? This is probably, I just thought when you just said that, this is probably one of the most musical times of the year. But do we do a lot of dancing? I don't understand. It just kind of in my mind, like, why don't we dance more around the holidays? You know, music's blasting all the time. We're usually sitting around enjoying the music.
Well, with the advent of Amazon and online shopping, are we walking as much, right?
Well, that's exactly right. We
the
don't
front
have to
door.
worry about Black
Right.
Friday.
We're
3
not
a.m.
going to the outlets and making laps and laps and laps to do that.
That's a
We're punching a button with that eggnog in our hand, filling up our online cart.
That's exactly right. And because we're sitting there filling up our online cart, we get Uber to bring us lunch and dinner, and
There you go. You're
Off we
more
go.
sedentary.
yeah, crazy.
Well, thank you guys for all this wonderful information. Alan, great work in regards to Gopher Bowl. I love the pictures in regards to your partners and the energy that they're bringing. And I hope they outgrow your facility.
I hope so.
I hope they outgrow. And Julie, great work, great advice for us. And you're with OneLife Fitness and you're in Martinsburg, West Virginia.
Yes.
So if somebody wants to tackle 81, you got them covered.
Oh, it's just a couple exits.
Just a couple exits.
And is it true OneLife's going to have a new facility?
We are
there?
going to have a fabulous new facility. We are currently set to open in February of next year. We are very excited. It's going to be state of the art. We're going to have red light therapy. We're also going to have a pool there, and it's 2 stories. It's going to be
Wow.
gorgeous.
Wow.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Excellent. Well, thank you both. And stay with us. We'll be back with the Fast Five, right, gentlemen?
Yes.
After the break. Hagerstown City Council has decided to fill their vacancy, subject to a vote next week, but Peter Perini has been named to be the replacement city council person. Jim, what say you?
Yeah, so I've known Peter for quite some time. Peter has always been active in government, not as an elected official. I know he's run a few times unsuccessfully, both at the city level and I believe at the state level as well.
School board as well, right?
The school board as well, that's true. I had forgotten about that one. I guess that if I have only any concern about this, it's about the process. Was there an application process?
Doesn't seem to be. I believe there was a application process and a vetting process when there was Schindler that was appointed to the board when you had the shift of Mayor Martinez into that seat. But I don't believe so. I from the city council meeting, there was a closed door session, and they agreed that Peter was the candidate because he knows government and he watches city council meetings.
Was that the quote?
That was the quote.
Okay, that's that's interesting criteria. And again, I'm not saying anything against Peter.
Right.
I'm sure I know that he knows a lot about government. I know that he has connections downstate. I know that he has spent the majority of his adult life being involved, both from a business perspective and also from a personal perspective in government. But that,
Here's one thing that's interesting if we just kind of look at it from an overarching circumstance. More than 50% of mayor council are in their seats from being appointed and not elected. And you're talking about that in a really crucial transitional year in regards to a lot of things. You know, we in recent shows we've talked about the funding for the field house and where's that going to come from, and are we going to be, well, not me, but are city residents going to be looking at tax increases, and are they going to be successful in getting more money from Annapolis with all these other initiatives and things that are on the table that Paul Fry talked about? Terrence, what say you?
I as far as the process, I'm a little, out of the loop on that and how that actually transpired, seeing that every other vacancy, the last 3 vacancies were actually filled through a interview process and application process.
And there was like 18 candidates for the last one that they filled, and I don't believe that Peter's name was among those 18.
All right, so I don't know if they kind of said, who do you think would be best, and kind of reached out to see if he had any interest. It is a 1-year seat that he will be filling that vacancy for, which means if he's, I also would like to know if he's going to be running. Is this just filling that seat for a year and, transitioning out of it? Or is it a pathway into filing for running for council again in January, February of next year? So again, I don't know these answers, these kind of questions that are still kind of out there, or what that process looked like. Me, myself, I didn't apply in the past, so I wonder those who have applied in the past, who may not have gotten interviewed, or how they may feel or how they may react to it.
What about the ones that did get interviewed, right? If you had 18 and you narrowed it down and you had interviews, but you didn't go back to that pool of candidates.
Yeah.
The other thing is, in looking at kind of numbers in past elections, Schindler ran in the previous election. He didn't make the cut to the final group. Also, Perini ran and came very close, right? He almost unseated Brucci.
Correct.
Right? It was very close there. However, though, there's a lot of crucial decisions that are going to be made by folks that are in seats that the constituents didn't put them in. So it's just an interesting time for the city of Hagerstown.
Again, we don't know how many of them are going to run again, or if they do run, if they'll even be elected again.
Well, we assume that Mayor Martinez is not going to run because she's running for Congress.
Right. And I guess I'm more referring to the voting members of council.
Okay.
You know, because I think in the absence of or a tie, then of course the mayor has an opportunity to weigh in and make the deciding vote. But that rarely happens, you know, that I've seen over the last few
And
years.
now that you're going to have your fifth member, that's probably not going to happen.
Right. Especially as they called out, Perini has been very active and engaged, so I can't foresee him missing any votes or standing. So I think you're going to have the 5 council people there, so they're going to be voting, and they're going to be making key decisions, as well as I'm not sure who's going to be campaigning or not. I'm concerned both ways. If they're all campaigning what gets accomplished, if none of them are coming back, why do we want them making decisions, right? So I just think a lot of this has to be unraveled, and I'm sure other constituents have questions as well like this, and hopefully they do their due diligence and reassure the constituents as they go into next year, and any major decisions that are being made, possibly consider tabling them if they don't need to be made, so the next administration can come in and not have to either claw back or make changes or have to deal with any repercussions of it or possible benefits of it. I'm not sure of what comes to vote, but I definitely believe that this is something that needs to be communicated and some reassurance to the constituents.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, the reality is we're less than a year away from a general election. We're less than 6 months away from the primary. It's coming up.
And you're starting to get candidates that are announcing their intentions to move forward,
Right.
and challenge those. I mean, I know within the business community there are some grumblings in regards to people who would like to see a change
Yeah.
in regards to how things are moving. So it's just going to be interesting to see over the next 2 to 3 months of the names that come forward. Because February 9th, right?
Yep, I believe so. Yep.
February 9th, I believe, is the filing deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't expect to see anybody really start filing until, you know, early
February-
January.
February 1st?
Right, in February,
Yeah.
taking photos and,
Yeah.
you know, kind of building up that momentum. I'm also, honestly, holistically, and put aside just city council and Perini being appointed, I don't know what the candidate pool will look like, period. I'm a little concerned. Like, I don't see anyone vying right now or stepping up or advocating in different arenas where you can be like, you know what, I think they may run. I don't feel that right now for none of the seats.
If there's candidates out there, they certainly have maintained their silence.
Absolutely.
Yeah, everybody's close to the vest right now with it.
Yeah. We'll see how that works out.
Yeah.
So, of course, you know, the argument is on the other side that the sooner you put your name out there, the more time people have to dig up dirt.
Right. And
So-
but if you don't have a name, you should get it out there sooner than later.
Right.
You know, there's a nice window of time where you want to get out there and get some notoriety, because unfortunately, a lot of times our elections are just popularity contests.
Yeah.
Well, that is all the time that we have for tonight. We hope that you'll like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and send us your comments to feedback@theflipsidetv.com. That is feedback@theflipsidetv.com. But most importantly, join us again next week for another episode of